I think guest keeps on getting taller each
King
time.
of the castle, king of the castle.
Answers by guess. Game by game preview. Remember Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Make sure you subscribe on all. Look for that hashtag answers by guess and the other one ABGFF. By weeks, Arizona Cardinals at the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry, Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers again on bye. First game for the last video here is Miami Dolphins at the San Francisco 49ers. We had mentioned the Dolphins in the last video as far as how their offense pretty much didn't have to come out in the second half. Should be a lot different in this game. Are we comfortable starting everybody on this Dolphins team as far as Jeffrey Wilson, Waddle, Hill, Tua, anybody else we should be thinking about? On the flip side, Eli Mitchell out. McCaffrey seems like he's going to play. I saw you picking up TDP. I picked up Mason but dropped him. Are we worried about this running back field? Sounds like Debo may be banged up, but possibly is more than likely going to play. How is the San Francisco offense going to roll now with Mitchell, who came back as like a main component, again, kind of out now? And how is it going to, especially with all the injuries?
Yeah, this is game one of two that, I see the NFL starting to flex games. Why was this not flexed?
Yeah, I think this should be definitely Sunday Night Football.
Sunday night is Indianapolis versus Dallas. Like, why did he not flex this game or the other game that we'll talk about in a few minutes? Because this is like two best friends playing against each other. McDaniel versus Shanahan used to be there. He gave him a couple players in Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So they're going against their old team, the 49ers. Um, this is the immovable object versus the unstoppable force. All right. It's the 49ers who nobody can do anything against all of a sudden for they've given up like 0 points in the second half and like every game going forward for the past few. And the Dolphins who nobody can stop. They just throw the ball down the field to their two missiles and they do whatever the hell they want. So this is, I think, right up there with game of the week, this or the next one. Um, I don't see a reason you don't play Hill or Waddle, maybe even Gasecki. He's coming through when they need him. And I like Jeff Wilson in this one. I know Mostert's back. I think that just helps. I know Jeff Wilson was a little banged up this week in practice. I did say, though, that I didn't like the Miami Dolphins as a backfield. That was a bit earlier in the year before they had Wilson. It was mostly when it was Mostert and who was the guy that everybody loved that they've forgotten about now. Came out of nowhere a couple of years ago. I wasn't really too into him. He was the starter last year. Can't even think about him. See how that goes? Um,
Crazy.
you know who it
Miles
is.
Gaskin.
Miles Gaskin. So, where'd you go? Ahmed. Like, they had all this nonsense going on. Jeff Wilson came, and as soon as that happened, I told you all live on the show, I was like, this is the best transaction, I think. And what did he do? Came in, killed it. I think the Dolphins will be able to get down the field into the red zone more often than other teams will or have been able to against the 49ers. And because of that, I like Wilson in this one. So if it's a debatable play, I'm fine with it. And for the 49ers, they got the running back situation. I think TDP is Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason. Remember, when this happened earlier in the year, when it was Elijah Mitchell, and I don't remember who else. Was it Elijah Mitchell? And they had, it was Jeff Wilson, right?
Jeff
Elijah
Wilson.
Mitchell and
Correct.
Jeff Wilson. And then Jordan Mason was the other guy. But the reason Jordan Mason was the other guy, Elijah Mitchell went out of the game, Mason came in, is because TDP was inactive. The reason is because Jordan Mason plays special teams and TDP does not. So last week, when Jordan Mason came into the game, I think it's the same exact scenario. Jordan Mason was there because he's a special teams guy, so he was playing when the other two running backs were hurt or whatnot. And so this is where TDP comes in and he plays Elijah Mitchell. Do I like him as a start? No, but he's who I had targeted to pick up when everybody else was picking up Mason. And that's why I ended up getting TDP. I wanted to save my waiver priority because I knew I needed a quarterback, which I ended up getting the quarterback I wanted. So it's good. But then you dropped Mason. That was the same league, huh? I didn't even realize that.
I ended up picking up Warren just because I wasn't sure
Yeah.
about Najee, so I had to take a chance on if Warren was going to take that back.
Debo banged up. Juwan Jennings, my boy, coming through last week when
Yeah.
Debo went out.
Dude, he was looking his way a lot, man.
I'm telling you, he is somebody that people need to have their eye on weeks ago because Debo keeps getting banged up. Juwan Jennings will step right into his role without a problem. Um, and he's the third wide receiver in a wide receiver core that's ridiculous, and George Kittle. So I think because this game, I think uh, involves a lot of players that can score a lot of points. I think that the Niners will be able to move the ball better than they did last week. I don't know what that crap game was against New Orleans. It was absolutely terrible.
It was hard.
I said in the recap, throw this game out. It reminded me of the Niners versus Bears earlier in the year, except the field conditions were perfect last week. So throw it out. I like this game. This should be Sunday Night Football. I want as much of this game as I can get into.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Los Angeles Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Chargers didn't play bad last week, man. They ended up winning that game. The same type of situation that the Jags did. Now the Chargers did against Arizona. Eckler, I mean, Mike Williams, is he still a viable option on this team? Because Carter's coming through, Palmer's coming through, Keenan Allen is back. I believe Mike Williams is back this week, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He's out.
He's out again? Wow.
He's out this week. That's okay. That's why I'm here.
Okay, well, anyway, Keenan Allen coming back. He seems to be getting a little more each week. Are we comfortable now starting him as well on pretty much as either wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3? On the flip side, you had mentioned the walk-off again from the Raiders. Jacobs is amazing, but still banged up. I mean, who are we playing from this Raiders team? And I called Hollins. I picked up Hollins in the league in ABG, and I played him. Could he still then be a viable option as well?
Yeah, Jacobs didn't practice at all last week. Was worrisome. Nobody even knew if he was going to play. A lot of people took him out of their lineups. He comes in, he scores over 50 points, no matter what league you're in. Absolutely ridiculous. I think he had like 57 in our league, something like that. So
he got 88 in my high scoring league.
Yeah, so absolutely incredible. And he's not practicing at all this week, and that's on purpose. Listen, you got to hope he plays. And if he plays, you got to play him because the Chargers have the worst rush defense in the entire league. They got 3 defensive tackles that are out. They've been out for a while. This team has not recovered from that. Everybody's been running all over them. If you want to grab somebody ahead of time, you grab Zamir White, not Amir Abdullah, because Amir Abdullah is what he is. Zamir White is the one that would be what Jacobs is. Amir Abdullah is not going to punish anybody. Zamir White will punish people. But you're playing Josh Jacobs in this one because they're going to play Josh Jacobs in this one. Their season's not over. Even with all the good records in the AFC is by far better than the NFC. Season's still not over. They've gotten lucky the past 2 weeks, or good the last 2 weeks, winning in overtime, walk off in both games. Devontae Adams, then Josh Jacobs. And against the Chargers, put them all out there. You want to play Mac Hounds? Keep playing Mac Hounds, man. You want to play Foster Moreau? Keep playing Foster Moreau. Because the Chargers are going to put up points. The Chargers are going to be able to do whatever the hell they want against the Vegas Raiders as well. Josh Palmer, we said this even when Keenan Allen came back and said, you keep playing Josh Palmer. And look what he's done over the past couple of weeks. Even when Mike Williams comes back, you keep playing Josh Palmer because all it's going to take is an in-game injury from 2 guys that are always injured in the game. And Josh Palmer's right back into number 2, and he's serviceable as the number 3. Just look at DeAndre Carter, how good he's been as the number 3. And Gerald Everett keep going, and nobody wants to tell you to play Austin Eckler. Just play Austin Eckler. And Justin Herbert, I think, is going to be the number 1 quarterback this week.
I was down on Herbert again this year, but just last week he looked so good, and there's some weeks that I feel like not that he takes off, but there's some like decisions that he makes that just
Yeah.
I don't know that bother me.
I agree.
So,
I've said it on the show a few times. Like, I don't get it because we talk about sports cards a lot, and people are just goo goo gaga over this guy. And I think it has a lot to do with his hair. But the people, they absolutely love him. They absolutely love him. And I said, I don't see it. And then there was one game this year that we came on, after the game, might have been, it was a night game or something. I was like, okay, now I kind of see it. But then he sort of regressed back to his mean. But I do think he's the number one quarterback in the league this week. I think he scores the most points out of all the quarterbacks. So I just had that feeling.
fire him up.
I think this one's a shootout. I said Derek Carr is going to get going a few weeks ago. He's had a couple good weeks, 2+ touchdowns in each week. I think this back and forth here. High scoring.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. This should be another super high scoring game, right? Great quarterbacks, great wide receivers, Chase coming back. The things that I guess, let's talk about the concerns then. P. Ryan seems to be the back again. Are we worried? He had a good first half, but really didn't show up in the second half. Kansas City Chiefs seems like it's just a carousel between McKinnon, Pacheco, and your boy Rojo. The same thing with the wide receivers for Kansas City. Who can we target as people that are actually going to get targets and actually get some burn as far as from a running back perspective?
Well, before I go any further, 3 things. One, I had mentioned in the video, whichever one had Jacksonville, I think was the first one, I said that there was going to be 3 people. It's like, when are the vultures going to show up? And I said Darrell Henderson, possibly vulturing ETN. He's been there a couple weeks. That was vulture number 1. I forgot about vulture number 2. That's in the Houston game, Eno Benjamin. He's yet to be active and really do anything. They could use him in that game against Cleveland for sure, so it'll be interesting to see if he's active and they utilize him. Vulture number 3 is in this game, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon signed to the Kansas City practice squad. McKinnon was a little banged up this week. Will they like putting Gordon in and playing him over Rojo? Rojo was okay last week, but maybe they put Melvin Gordon in this one, but maybe not, because this is a really big game and Melvin Gordon has fumbling issues. So maybe they don't even mess with it this week. They said, let's wait until we get a little easier matchup. So just something to think about. 3 vultures lurking out there for our running backs. Now, this game, this is the other game. Why did you not flex this game? Why is this not flexed? I don't understand. You're flexing games already. The flex is in effect. Flex in effect. Rex in effect. Ooh, great rum shaker.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like, come on. Between Miami, San Francisco, Kansas City, Cincy, you stick with Indianapolis and Dallas. I don't get it. Don't get it. America's team. Maybe that's the reason. How dare you ever consider taking them off of prime time? Jerry Jones would have a conniption fit. But this game deserves to be there. And Kansas City, I think they're in a tough spot. This was another game when I was looking at it with my buddies. I think Cincinnati wins this game. They're +2. I like them at home. They proved last year playing against Kansas City that they are not afraid of Kansas City. They are not intimidated. Kansas City, in my mind, is the best team in the league. Buffalo's right there. Kansas City's not afraid. Cincinnati's not afraid. And with Jamar Chase coming back, they'll be able to stick it to him. P. Ryan has filled in admirably. We'll see if Mixon gets the go-ahead. Right now, he still is not cleared concussion protocol, but he's been practicing all week. So we'll see. He's got, all day tomorrow and then into Sunday morning. I think he would have to clear it at some point before tomorrow morning or before Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think it was Saturday. I think Saturday night by like 8 p.m. or something like that.
So we'll see. Keep tuned to that. But as of now, if it's P. Ryan, just keep rolling with P. Ryan. He's been getting it done. He's certainly serviceable. I mean, with no Mixon there. When Mixon comes to play, then he becomes just your breather guy that, like, do you really want to waste the starting lineup spot with him? But the Bengals keep going with him. Boyd's been a little quiet, but Boyd does better when Chase is there, which is really weird. So with Chase coming in and playing, that all of a sudden elevates Boyd to startable. Makes no sense. But other than the defense is worried about Chase and they leave Boyd a little open. He's good as the third wide receiver, not as the second. And the tight end's been doing fine. Hated Hurst. The Chiefs are going to have to be smarter in this one. Like I said, I'm playing Pacheco over Gibson at this point. Don't love it. Don't feel good about it, but probably just going to have to do it. And it's not because of the other running backs are there. I just think Cincinnati's a little bit of a tougher matchup. But I do think they'll be able to get close enough. I think there'll be a lot of points. So if you're thinking about playing Pacheco, he'll get his opportunities. He gets a ton of goal line snaps, doesn't punch in a good percent of them. He's only about 30% or so. I think he's like 5 for 17 or something like that. Positive yardage or even touchdowns. But Juju is who I like in this one. Another game coming back from being out for a few. Juju and Kelsey are the guys that Mahomes leans on continuously when he needs something safe. And the Bengals have a good enough defense where Mahomes can't just run around and just flip balls every which way behind his back, under his armpit, right, stuff like that. Mahomes can't play that way in this game against Cincinnati because Cincinnati ain't going to play that. So he's going to have to be smarter with the ball, and I think Andy Reid knows that. So look for Juju to have a big game, and look for Sky Moore to keep doing what he's doing. I said sooner or later, the end of the year, Sky Moore was going to continue to do it and continue to do it. And with no Tony, I think he fits right in that third wide receiver role. And you know who's going to catch a deep one in this one? MVS.
MVS actually got targeted a little bit more last week. I mean, Tony coming back, but I like that. I like that call. I think he could have a big play. I'm actually contemplating starting him over Godwin just because I don't know about this Monday night matchup. Tampa Bay always plays crappy against New Orleans, but I don't know. I think that's kind of crazy thinking about that too. But I agree. I think MVS could score a big one in this one. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Sunday Night Football, which you do not like being Sunday Night Football.
I think the game will be fine, but it just doesn't compare to the other two.
I love the fact that there's, again, 4 o'clock games. That makes it so much better at that time. But let's go into this one. Indianapolis Colts to the Dallas Cowboys. Indianapolis coming off a loss to Pittsburgh on Monday. Jelani Woods, now I can mention him. He looked good, man. Pittman had played well. Taylor played well. Matt Ryan still seems stuck in the mud. And I think he's the reason why this team is losing, to be honest with you. But are those really the only guys that we could possibly play on this Colts team? On the flip side, I don't know if it is. Zeke has been playing better, man. Like, he's making Tony Pollard kind of take that back role again. Is this a game where we see the opposite now? Are they going to need Pollard more than a Zeke type of situation based on how Indianapolis Colts run defense hasn't been that great? And then on the what wide receivers are we starting? Dalton Schultz, 2 touchdowns last week. Could that be something else that he looks for a safety net?
Yeah, now let's think about this. Jeff Saturday, in my mind, should be 3-0. When they won the first one, they blew it against Philly. They had Philly on the ropes that entire game. They blew it. And then last week, they were winning. They were going in for a score. And Jonathan Taylor reached his arms out instead of just taking the ball in his chest like he's supposed to. Fumble at the goal line. Pittsburgh gets the ball. Pittsburgh goes down. They score. And then at the end of the game, they had 3 timeouts in 30-plus seconds, and nobody called any damn timeouts. And it helped my fantasy team. And I think that's the only reason it happened, Rob. I really do. I'm sorry, but I think that is.
Hey,
the fantasy
gods, week, man.
the fantasy gods are on my team, and I'm sorry, Indianapolis Colts fans, but that's the reason that the end of the game happened the way it did. I see no other reason why all of that happened. Why do you not call a timeout when you have 3? When you got 1 yard to go? The most important play of the game. You could have won that game. So could be 3-0. So the Colts are better than we all think they are. And in my mind, everybody thought it was going to die when Jeff Saturday got hired, and I said they're going to be just fine. They might even be better, and I think I was right. because I think they've been competitive in every game. They should have beaten Philly. They could have beaten Pittsburgh. Just some bonehead stuff and some weird things happened. So now they go against the Cowboys in Dallas. Going to be tough Sunday night. I don't know how Matt Ryan is going to be able to escape Lawrence and Parsons coming after him. I don't know how this offensive line is going to stop these guys. Dallas could absolutely slaughter in this one. You got the Dallas defense. Ooh, baby, baby. It's
Oh yeah.
that's good stuff. I like Pittman, but I don't like Pittman because in order to get Pittman going, if they use him like they used him last week, and he catches the ball going over the middle, they use him short, they use him intermediate, and they use him deep, then Pittman's good to go. Pierce, I think, is falling out of favor with dropping every single ball last week. This could be a big Paris Campbell game because Matt Ryan's going to have to get the ball out of his hands quick because that rush is going to be coming after him. Could be a lot of checkdowns. You might see Zach Moss get a little more involved in this one, or checkdowns to Taylor. Jelani Wood's been banged up all week, and Kylan Granson is back from his illness. So will they stick with just Jelani Woods, or will we go back? We saw a little Mo Alley last week. Will we see all three of them going there? I felt like Jelani Woods was Saturday was like, enough of this Frank Reich 3 tight end thing. I found one guy, we're going to use him. But then he got banged up this week. So now that just threw a whole wrench in the entire plan. So I was looking at Jelani Woods as a pickup, and I was like, oh, now he's hurt. Well, there goes that idea. So I don't know. I still am not there. But I will tell you one thing. Like I said, Matt Ryan has to get rid of the ball quick, and Dallas cannot stop the tight end. So all three of them could do some damage. I just don't know which one it would be. I think Kylan Granson is the best of them, but Woods looked really good last week. So I think that all three will play in this one because they're going to need them. They're going to need 2 tight ends to help block this pass rush. There could even be 3 tight end sets at times. So it could just be absolutely ridiculous. For the Cowboys, CD has been red hot over the past few weeks. Like you said, Dalton Schultz was good last week. We saw that one coming. Ferguson also caught a touchdown. And I think he's going to be a big part of the team going forward. He was part of the divisional necessity segment. I think he's somebody, if he starts to really come on, because Gallup, although he got going last week, Gallup and CD, I don't think is enough because Noah Brown is just a placeholder. I think that they would be better off with 2 tight ends on the field at the same time, which is what they kind of did last week. So we'll see if Ferguson continues to go. Schultz obviously is fine. CD, and you asked a question about the running backs. Zeke might be able to just do his thing against the Colts because if the Colts can't move the ball, which is possible, if they get after Matt Ryan, it might just turn into a Zeke show. So I'm playing Pollard in one league, but I mean, last week Zeke proved exactly what I said. I said, don't start freaking out against Pollard. Remember, I told you, I said Pollard has had some big fantasy points, but a lot of them were broken. He broke plays, busted loose. Zeke is still getting the ball at the goal line. Look what happened last week. Zeke had a huge game. Pollard not so much. So I think you could see that again in this one.
It's funny. I'm starting Zeke in our dynasty league, and I have Pacheco, and I've been looking at Pacheco, and I'm just like, I don't know. I have Zeke in there, and I kind of want to just leave him in, especially it gives me a Sunday nighter primetime action. So trying to see.
I do that as well.
Yeah. All right. New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Bucs. Let's start with the Bucs. Godwin was awesome last week. Targeted a bunch. Is he going to get the love again this week? I know I'm seeing a lot of people saying Mike Evans is going to get love this week. He hasn't gotten love in a while. Doesn't seem like him and Brady are on the same page this year. But you know who has this game circled? Marshawn Lattimore. He's been limited this week in the first couple practices. Let's see if he's limited again or has a full practice tomorrow. But this New Orleans Saints team plays the Bucs so well. Rashad White went off last week. Could he be stopped, or are we okay with playing all of our Tampa Bay Bucs? On the flip side, Taysom Hill was close again. What was it?
Twice. 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. It's crazy how it's so close. And again, if from a tight end perspective, all you need is for one of those to come through, and you're beating other tight ends by far. Who else are we playing from this team? Kamara seems to be healthier, but still kind of banged up. And then Olave, I think, is a must start, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I want to say it was a rushing and a receiving, and then last week was a rushing and a passing. So it's like Taysom Hill is getting close to scoring touchdowns 3 different ways the past 2 weeks. I'm continuing to roll with him. They have a bye next week, so I'll have no choice but to bench him next week. So you know what? It's Monday Night Football, and there's Monday Night Magic, so I'm playing Taysom Hill.
The way you've been going, dude, with Monday Night Magic and Sunday Night Magic.
Exactly. So listen, I got Taysom Hill on my team, and I've been pulling games out, knock on wood, Sunday night and Monday night. So I also got Michael Pittman on my team, so if you need him on Sunday night, there goes that. So just letting you know, the world's on my side. I'm the reason the Colts lost that game last week once again. So the Saints, Olave, okay, let's keep going. Kamara, you got to use them. And Taysom Hill. Other than that, I mean, unless it's Juwan Johnson, you don't really want to touch much. Landry, I don't know. I guess he's serviceable. I don't really want to put him in a lineup unless I have to.
I'd rather play Shaheed, to be honest with you, than
Landry.
Landry.
Because all he does is score touchdowns.
Yeah, at least try to get the touchdown out of it.
You mentioned Mike Evans. The ebbs and flows would tell you, yeah, this should be a Mike Evans game. But then you're reminded that it's Lattimore, and all he does is shut down Evans. So
he's circling this on his calendar, brother.
I would stay away from Evans unless, like, you absolutely have to. There are worse plays out there. So put him in and just hope for the best. Rob, I'm not benching Godwin. You say you want to, I'm not. I'm going to keep rolling with him because of that fact. Godwin is getting going. And I know that typically with Tampa Bay over the years, we've said that it was going to be this cyclical thing, as it is on a lot of teams, especially like 2 years ago, and it was Antonio Brown 1 week, and we were picking him. We were dead on. We're like, this is Antonio Brown week. It was Antonio. This is a Godwin week. This is an Evans week. I'm sticking with Godwin. And I think that even if they weren't playing the Saints, I would stick with Godwin. I just like the way it's going. Brady is looking his way. He's getting open. I think K. Dotton could be a decent play. Again, for people this week, he was dropped all over the place, I saw. I'm fine playing him. Fournette's coming back. Fournette could ruin the Rashad White thing that people got going on because, it's going to be 50-50 more than likely. And that's enough to make Rashad White an RB2-3/flex type position. And same goes for Fournette. Fournette with a week off. He's got the hip thing going on. But he's thirsty. He wants to show he's not done. And what better time to do it than Monday Night Football? So I haven't been big on Fournette, but I'm kind of feeling him in this one. But I can't recommend players I don't like, so remember that. But I kind of got a feeling about Fournette getting nasty and dirty when they get close. I don't think he gets much between the 20s, but when they get into the red zone, I think that's where he lets it out.
It's going to be interesting to see. All right, guys. Answers by guess. Look for those hashtags. We'll be back Sunday morning. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. Sunday morning. Remember to always like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. And we appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you on Sunday morning.
Good luck.
Peace.